This video was made possible in part thanks to footage of Fantasyland, provided by YouTube user LakeNipissing. Check out his channel at youtube.com/LakeNipissing. And now, on with the show. If you look at Galaxyland now, compared to just a couple of years ago, you'll notice one major difference. It's smaller. Maybe not based on square footage, but it is smaller. Just look up and you'll see what I mean. The open area above the main entrance has now been occupied. For those who are frequent visitors, it's not hard to notice the shuffle of rides which has occurred over the last couple of years. The encroachment of the open air area, just inside the main doors, caused some major changes to happen inside the park. There are some major players which are shuffled. Some were added, and some were lost. Since the park's opening as Fantasyland in the mid-1980s, the west entrance area was occupied by 3 rides: the Carousel, the bumper cars, known today as Cosmo Space Derby, and the Flying Galleon. However, when the second floor above the entrance expanded, it was clear that 2 of those rides, the ones which were higher than a single story, weren't going to fit anymore. This caused what is known across the globe as the Great Galaxyland Ride Shuffle of 2015 and 2016. And I actually don't really know anyone who calls it that.
Nobody calls me chicken needles. Nobody!
With the second floor expanding, it seems the mall had some big choices to make. There's not a whole ton of floor space in Galaxyland to accommodate new rides, or new ride placements. So if the mall wanted to keep the Carousel and the Flying Galleon, they needed to make space, which meant making sacrifices. In regard to the Carousel, it made sense to keep it in a kid-friendly area, that is, not directly adjacent to the loudest roller coaster you'll ever hear. If you take a look at the existing kids area prior to the shuffle, what we had there was the Moto Jump, the Kiddie Convoy, and the 35th Aero Squadron. The footprint of the Carousel was bigger than any of those, so a straight-up swap wasn't going to work. If it was squeezing in there, it would displace 2 of those rides. Now just across from those rides was Cosmo's Space Fountain. Or, as the mall saw it, enough room to accommodate some rides. And it's not like rides weren't in that location in the past. That area used to be home to the Zipper ride back in the 1990s. However, the fountain area wasn't quite large enough for the Carousel. In fact, the Kiddie Convoy was too large for that area as well. So with all this information, it was clear that a choice had to be made between keeping the Carousel or keeping the Kiddie Convoy. When comparing the pair of rides, the Carousel appeals to, and can accommodate, a wider age range. So the decision was made that the Kiddie Convoy was to be removed from the park. The Great Shuffle's first sacrifice, but not the only one. With the Kiddie Convoy out of the equation, it really came down to which ride was easier to move, the Moto Jump or the 35th Aero Squadron. It's a no-brainer that the Moto Jump was the easier ride to move. So, with the Carousel barely squeezing into its new home, the Moto Jump was moved, which meant Cosmo's Space Fountain was put on the chopping block. The fountain existed in the mall previous to becoming what is known as Cosmo's Space Fountain, so you can't blame people for being hopeful it might pop up again elsewhere. Unfortunately, it hasn't. The Moto Jump's new home may have been too small for the Carousel or the Kiddie Convoy, but even with the Moto Jump move, there was room for another ride with a smaller footprint. So, a new ride was added to the roster, the Solar Spinner, a small spinning teacup-style ride. It's a simple ride, but pretty enjoyable nonetheless. With the dust settled on the plans for the Carousel, a decision still needed to be made regarding the Flying Galleon. If you take a look at the footprint of the Flying Galleon, it's pretty big. It won't fit in the kids area, especially with the Carousel moving there, and they're definitely not going to displace the train station for it. Galaxy Kids is far too popular to move, and the Swing of the Century is popular as well, not to mention how iconic it is. I mean, it almost represents the park. So with that half of Galaxyland pretty much off limits, the other half is simple. It won't fit around any of the coaster tracks. There's far too little clearance for that. Same thing in regard to the train tracks. The Space Shot's launch area can't accommodate it, and Quirks in the Works was probably way too big of an investment to even consider removing. Finally, if you look back on the shape and size of the Flying Galleon, you'll notice a striking similarity to another ride in the park's history, the Perilous Pendulum. It was pretty much a scaled-up version of the Flying Galleon. If you were ready to graduate from the Flying Galleon, or ever wondered to yourself, what if this ride went all the way around? The answer was simple, the Perilous Pendulum. The Perilous Pendulum was eventually replaced with a similar ride, the Solar Flare. But even that had a similar footprint to the Flying Galleon. With so few placement options available, it really came down to popularity, appeal, and ridership. The Flying Galleon is certainly less extreme than the Solar Flare, so it appeals to a wider audience and has a higher ridership. So I'm sure you can guess what that meant in regard to the fate of the Solar Flare. It was to be removed to make way for the Flying Galleon. The Flying Galleon in its new home leaves an out-of-place and almost comical open area directly above it. So with the Carousel and the Flying Galleon out of the way, the path was clear to expand the second floor. There is one good piece of news from all this, however. While no longer able to accommodate tall rides, the former home of the Carousel was now a clean slate, which could potentially house a new ride. When the Carousel was first removed, I asked one of the team members of Galaxyland about the space. They said the rumor was there was going to be a new advanced level ride that was going to be put in. I was skeptical at first, just based alone on the new low overhead clearance of the area. But along came a new ride, the Zero Gravity, a fast spinning ride where riders themselves can control forward and backward flips, and even choose to ride upside down. It's actually a pretty fun attraction. Well, that leaves one question. Why did all this have to happen? What was the reasoning for the second floor expansion? Well, it's the Palace Casino. It's undergoing a $45 million expansion. In fact, it appears that not only is it Galaxyland space that's being infringed upon, if you look at the construction that's underway, a current map of the area, and the artist renderings, it certainly appears that the area allocated for the casino reaches well beyond the expansion into the amusement park. The mall stands to earn much more by allocating space for a casino than it does to lose from shrinking what I'm sure they see as a small piece of Galaxyland. So when the casino requests more room for an expansion, it seems the mall is ready and willing to accommodate. So there you have it. The dust is settled and the ink is dried on a list of casualties. It's hard to definitively say if it was worth it. Without seeing the new casino. Original articles stated it would open in fall of 2016. But with 2018 just a few days away, it's still under construction. Any way you slice it, Galaxyland has undergone a drastic and irreversible change to its layout, as well as its roster of rides. Sure, the new additions are nice, but are they worth it? Is the Zero Gravity a decent swap for the Solar Flare? And what about Cosmo's Space Fountain? Will anyone miss that? In the end, as I said before, we'll just have to wait and see. But you can be damn sure of one thing. In a battle between family entertainment and the income of a shiny new casino, the house always wins. Thanks again to YouTube user LakeNipissing for the footage. Which rides would you have gotten rid of, or swapped out? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and share it with your friends. And why not check out some of our other videos, all about the greatest indoor show on earth, West Edmonton Mall. Oh, and thanks for watching!